G'day everyone, pretty weird video, unturboing a Civic. Not what you'd expect from Turbo Tristan. We're going to explain why we are unturboing this car and what the issues people like you guys at home are going to face when you buy an eBay kit and all the parts turn up, you get excited, you rip your car apart, and then you find out things aren't going to fit. Stick around, I'll show you why we are unturboing this car. Welcome back to the channel everyone. Bit of a weird video. You probably saw the thumbnail or the title and went, what the heck? Turbo Tristan unturboing a Honda Civic? Not like him at all. Well, let me tell you why. This car came to me in pieces. I'll throw a photo of it up just here. Now, the customer messaged me a few weeks back, said they want to turbo their Civic. Which kit do I recommend? They all have been the same mostly throughout time as far as I'm aware. And they said they wanted to get the Max Speeding Rods kit. They bought the Max Speeding Rods kit. They got stuck into pulling the whole thing apart and got halfway through and said, nah, too hard. I need Turbo Tristan's help. Dropped the car off here, not running, parts all through the car. There was grease and oil all over the place. I've given the whole thing a clean. We had a pretty decent base to work with. This is a EG5 VTI. It's got the D16 Y1 VTEC solenoid over here, and that had mounted the intercooler, one of the pipes, and taken off the exhaust and the aircon. Now with this kit, it's not all doom and gloom. We're going to put the car back to standard. It is a very nice car, and we could, yes, fit everything up and make it work. However, if we do that, we're going to be probably ruining the block of the Y1. These are pretty hard to come by these days, and we'd have to grind quite a fair bit of this off. You can see here that the turbo manifold has a little bit of a twist to it, pointing the exhaust back this way. And if you have a look over here at the exhaust pipe supplied, it's dead square, whereas the turbo is going to need to sit like that. So that won't fit. The customers had a crack at clocking the turbo, but undid all the cartridge bolts, not the compressor housing bolts. That's now seized. Otherwise, pretty much all the other parts were there. The intercooler is a universal Civic cooler, so it needed a bit of trimming on some of the pipes, which I got started on doing. But when I went to hook up the turbo, I noticed it wasn't clearing the block, it wasn't clearing the radiator. There was no way for the exhaust to run. That would need modifying. The intercooler pipes are in the totally wrong spot. Just easy to put this one back together. So I'm going to put this all back together. I'll just show you what it looks like after we're done. This brings me back to helping you guys out at home, just with all the kits and stuff. Now, this is not to crap on Max Speeding Rods. They've always been good to the scene. They don't always get it right, but I do have a pretty good, strong line of communication with the guys there. So I'm going to take a whole bunch of photos. I'm going to recommend that we either do a top mount manifold, put the turbo up here, that way you can keep your aircon, have much better access to air intakes and also more clearance for an exhaust, or at least make these runners slightly longer, move the turbo slightly further out and straight so that we don't have to grind down the blocks. Now, I had to do this on my D series. It did not feel good, but it did the job and worked. You really don't want to be grinding away at your block, especially if you're going to be increasing the power and torque and boost and all that sort of stuff. These are an open deck block. More chance of something cracking and splitting a block in half, so you don't want to do that. This was going to be another budget build. The customer, again, did not want to fork out for a fuel pump, fuel injectors, or an ECU at the moment. They just wanted everything bolted on and running, which it would have done if everything fitted. Just so everyone can see what I mean about why this will not fit. Okay, here is the orientation of the downpipe. This is already prefabbed for the kit, and it's designed to run underneath the sump and join up with the cat down there. V-band flange, cat is a 2-bolt flange. That's no big deal. Any exhaust shop or anyone with a welder can fix that. Now you can see here the angle of the turbo. It's not square going this way, it's actually kicked this way. Now This way it fits. There is room, it clears the block, you don't have to grind the block away. However, now you haven't even got a couple of finger space between here and the radiator, which means moving this to somehow get the exhaust to go down there and underneath. You could clock the turbo and then get the pipes going down here to run through your intercooler. And it keeps it all nice and away from the block, which is good. But again, this will not work. You can do some modifications and make the tightest, most restrictive straight down curve. It's going to melt your fan, cook your radiator, and just boil your water. So it's going to ruin how this works. You could then go to a tucked radiator, a bit of mucking around, move it down here behind here, and then you'd probably have some room. Again, not really a bolt-on kit if you have to do that, because then you're looking at a $500 or $600 radiator job. Now the turbo is supposed to go the other way around, so the compressor housing is facing this way. The kit comes with an external wastegate, not legal in Australia, and if you want to go stealth unnoticed, you'll need an internal wastegate, which is why the customer has opted for this turbo. It's exactly identical, only it has an internal wastegate. If we spin this around, we're going to be on the same angle that way, so diagonal. You can see the blocks straight and the turbo's on an angle. That's going to put the compressor over here, basically hard up against this fan shroud. Yes, you could get a thermo fan that's a lot slimmer, but still it's in the way. And then the exhaust is going to be on an angle and wanting to go right down here where the intercooler pipe goes. Again, yes, you can modify that. But if you look at the supplied pipe, it's exactly square, doesn't have an angle on it at all, and it's going to be going right where this intercooler pipe is, and it's very close to the block. So those are just two, maybe three, depending on which way you spin it around, ways on why this will not work. Then when you have the exhaust pipe and the intercooler pipe, you still need to fit your drain plug, which has got to go down here on the sump, with the exhaust running in the spot and the intercooler pipe running to that spot. There is no room for a drain plug to go. Yeah, it's just not going to work. I am taking plenty of photos, and we will report this back to Max Peating Rods so that they can rectify it ASAP. The intercooler is great. The piping is pretty good. As I mentioned, it will need some modifications. The angle's just a bit wrong here, and the pipe is a bit long there. And this one is a little bit out of whack as well. As you can see, you kind of have to clearance the frame for those as well. Just be careful, guys. We're going to send this information back to Max Peating Rods. They will revise it and get back to us. And hopefully soon there will be an actual trustworthy kit that you can buy to turbo your D-Series with ease in a weekend with a couple of mates at home. Now, if you've been wondering where I've been, I did make a video about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I released it. I took it down. There was a bit of controversy with that. It was about the costs involved in doing a turbo kit like this on a D-Series. I have started to plan out and get information and doing my research on how much it costs to do a B swap, how much it costs to do a K swap, and then comparing all of that to just going straight out and buying a car with a K series in it already, or a Type R, all that sort of stuff in Australian dollars. There's been a little bit of miscommunication, let's just say, or high expectation for a low cost getting around online at the moment. Things aren't as cheap as they used to be, and to do things properly, you have to pay to play. I'm going to be doing a bit of a series on how much you should expect to pay, how many kilowatts you can expect at the wheels, what it's going to cost, and what are some other alternatives if you want to get into a high-powered or something with a really awesome power-to-weight ratio that is budget-friendly, mod-friendly, and just a nice daily driver. But anyway, that's enough of that. Very disappointing that I have to unturbo this car, so I'll be pulling all this stuff off, putting the factory headers back on, and getting it ready for the guy to pick up. Shouldn't take too long. Knock on wood. We'll get that done. I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Well, that concludes that anticlimax of an entire video. We now have unturboed this Civic. It won't start now because the immobilizer is on. We don't have the remote. This is what happens when you don't get all of the parts and all of the things needed to do a job. So the customer's going to come, take the car. It's better than when he brought it because now we don't have oil everywhere. Everything's back together. I put in some extra screws to hold the bumper in, tidied up some of the wiring. So it is better than when he dropped it off. And we've also put everything back together, plugged everything in, and degreased the whole engine bay. So much better than what it was. One thing I want to show you guys is on my EK, we've finally got a purpose-built mount for the Haltech. That looks absolutely sick as. Check this out. That tapping is the boost controller. It's all mounted, 3D printed with the spool up logo in there. It's pretty sick. And we've also got the outlet here so we can change all the configuration of the dash without having to pull the whole thing out. And this was actually supplied by a friend called Marco, all the way from Slovenia. Now, Marco just happened to bump into me on a Facebook group. We got to chatting. We've met up. He's come to Australia to do a bit of work. He brought with him this awesome Haltech dash, 3D printed, especially for the EK. He's done an awesome job. He specializes in all that sort of stuff. I have been driving the EK around a bit, giving it a bit of a belting, but on the DL, not filming it because it's going to be definitely defected off the road. But we're almost there for semi-slicks, 5-stud conversion. I've got some new rims to show you guys in the future, and we'll be going to the track to see if we can crack some lap times, then going to do some drag times. So it's all happening with this car, all happening with the VL. Sorry that it's been so long since I've uploaded, but as I mentioned, I do have some how-to build sheets coming, telling you guys the full breakdown with accurate pricing for how to do K-swaps, D16 turbo builds the right way, not like this one, B-series swaps, B16, B18 swaps, K-swaps, and just whatever else is on the market that has similar sort of power, similar modability that you guys can go and buy, and what I think is better to spend your money on rather than doing a D-series turbo, B-series turbo, B-series, K-swap, all that sort of stuff. There's plenty of cars out there that are absolute bargains at the moment, and I'll show you guys how you can afford to do this yourself at home. And I plan on helping you guys learn the ins and outs and how you can do this yourself at home and get yourself a bargain, performance bargain, with all the modability that you want out of your ride. But comment down below what type of things that you want to hear about, what you want me to talk about first, whether it's a D swap, a D16 turbo build, a B swap, a K swap. What sort of things do you want me to break down dollar by dollar, item by item, and how much it's all going to cost you to do before you start wasting your money, spending your money on something like that. So that's what I've got in the works for you guys. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to spool up, bring the boost, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.